Since the early 20th century, American motorcycles have roared to life on the open road, quickly becoming symbols of power and freedom.
It's not a 100-pointer. This would just be a very fun vintage motorcycle to own and go out and have some fun with.
Over the years, many iconic bikes have captured the spotlight, but there are some massive machines that didn't get the attention they deserved. These motorcycles weren't just big in size, they pushed the boundaries of design and performance.
For your Harley-Davidson lineup, for your collection, or even if you wanted a rider, this would be a very fine bike to own.
So join us as we take a look at 10 of the biggest American motorcycles you may have never heard of, each one making its mark on the history of motorcycling.
It's got the stereo on here with the CD integrated in, and it's certainly a great classic bike.
Number 10, 1984 Harley-Davidson FXST Softtail. The Harley-Davidson FXST Softtail from model year 1984 marked a major turning point for the brand. In 1981, a group of managers bought Harley-Davidson back from AMF, aiming to revitalize the company's struggling reputation. This new leadership group launched the FXST Softtail, which introduced Harley's all-new Evolution engine, made primarily of aluminum, replacing the older iron shovelhead engine. This upgrade not only made the motorcycle more powerful, but also significantly more reliable. A critical change had brought fresh energy to the brand. Alongside this, Harley-Davidson presented the innovative Softtail frame, designed to give the motorcycle the appearance of a hardtail bike. This classic hardtail look hid the rear suspension, where coil-over shocks were positioned under the seat. Though the Softtail concept became strongly associated with Harley, it had actually been created in the 1970s by a mechanical engineer named Bill Davis, who patented the design in 1976. Initially, Harley-Davidson had turned down Davis's Softtail concept, but later on, the company reversed its decision and purchased the rights. With the new Evolution engine and Softtail design, Harley-Davidson successfully reinvented itself, capturing the hearts of motorcycle enthusiasts and paving the way for a decade of success. The FXST Softtail quickly became popular and established a strong foundation for Harley's reputation during the 1980s and beyond. This model demonstrated Harley-Davidson's commitment to combining classic styling with modern engineering, which helped shape the company's direction and solidified its place in the motorcycle industry. Number 9, 1965 FLH Electroglide. The Harley-Davidson FLH Electroglide, introduced in 1965, marked a time of significant transformation for the brand. Harley-Davidson had recently adopted swing-arm rear suspension in the late 1950s, which was a big advancement for smoother rides. Then, in 1965, the introduction of the shovelhead engine replaced the panhead engine, bringing a new era of power to their motorcycles. But Harley-Davidson didn't stop there. That same year, they upgraded to a 12-volt electrical system and included an electric start feature for the first time, creating the Electroglide model, which was a milestone in motorcycle technology. Another key innovation for the Electroglide in 1965 was a set of touring accessories. Harley-Davidson had noticed that many riders were adding aftermarket accessories to their motorcycles, like panniers and windshields, to make them more comfortable for long-distance trips. To meet this growing demand, they included an optional accessories package that featured touring panniers and a screen. This step anticipated the growing trend in motorcycle touring, making the Electroglide one of the first bikes designed with touring in mind. By 1969, Harley-Davidson introduced the distinctive Batwing fairing, which provided added wind protection and a more aerodynamic ride. By 1971, Harley-Davidson had made these touring accessories standard on the Electroglide, creating what would become known as the first full-dress touring motorcycle, ahead of even BMW in that era. The Electroglide was also one of the earliest large displacement motorcycles to feature an electric start, which was a groundbreaking development. British manufacturers would not add this feature to any of their motorcycles for another 10 years. Number 8, 1957 Harley-Davidson Xlch Sportster. The Harley-Davidson Xlch Sportster, released in 1957, arrived during a time when the U.S. economy was flourishing and consumers had extra income to spend on new, exciting products. Harley-Davidson recognized a growing demand for sportier motorcycles, especially as lighter British imports gained popularity. To meet this demand, the company created the Xlch Sportster. It was developed from the side valve KH model and introduced an overhead valve engine that combined the gearbox with a crankcase. This design provided a smooth, responsive performance ideal for the American market. Harley-Davidson gathered valuable feedback from dealers across the country, which helped them refine the Sportster's style to better suit American tastes. This led to the classic Sportster look that became a recognizable icon in the world of motorcycles. For the first 3 decades of its production, the Sportster was considered a distinctly American version of the lightweight, roadster-style motorcycle. While it evolved over time, it remained true to its roots, capturing the essence of the open road and embodying the American spirit of freedom. The innovative engine design of the Sportster laid the groundwork for the Harley-Davidson XR 750 flat tracker engine, which became legendary in motorcycle racing. The integrated gearbox and crankcase design helped the Sportster establish a reputation for durability and solid performance. Over its 50-plus years of production, the Sportster continued to adapt and stay relevant, marking its place as a quintessential American motorcycle while retaining its unique, timeless appeal. Number 7. 1936 Harley-Davidson EL Knucklehead. In 1936, Harley-Davidson introduced the EL Knucklehead model, marking a major evolution in their motorcycle engines. Up until then, Harley engines had a flathead or side valve design. However, as riders demanded more power, these older engines struggled under the stress, leading to issues with overheating and reliability. Harley-Davidson recognized the need for an upgrade and responded by developing an overhead valve cylinder head. This change brought significant improvements, though it faced early challenges due to severe oil leakage caused by complex joint faces. Even with these initial setbacks, the OHV head design represented a leap forward for Harley-Davidson, setting a new standard for power and durability in their engines. The nickname Knucklehead was actually given to this engine decades later by custom bike builders in the 1960s. The name came from the unique shape of the rocker covers, which looked like the knuckles on a clenched fist. When it first launched in 1936, however, the engine was simply known as the OHV model, standing for overhead valve, as it was Harley-Davidson's first engine to use this new configuration. The core structure of the Knucklehead engine remained in Harley-Davidson's lineup until the late 1970s. By then, the company had undergone a major transformation in management, and in the 1980s, Harley introduced the new Evolution or Evo engine. This marked the end of the Knucklehead's long production era, but its influence and legacy remained embedded in Harley-Davidson's engineering and design philosophy for decades to come. Number 6. 1940 Harley-Davidson WLA. The Harley-Davidson WLA, produced between 1940 and 1952, held a significant place in Harley-Davidson's history. Although it may not have been as iconic as the Knucklehead, the WLA played a crucial role in shaping the company's future. About 70,000 units were manufactured during World War II, which provided Harley-Davidson with essential support and stability in the years that followed. The WLA became part of the post-war biker culture as returning soldiers acquired these surplus military bikes, customizing or bombing them to suit their style. This trend contributed to the rise of the modern motorcycle scene and a unique subculture in America. The WLA was equipped with a flathead engine featuring an increased compression ratio, though still only at 5:1, to handle lower quality gasoline. This design made it highly adaptable to the fuel standards of the time and reliable on long, rugged missions. The WLA's sturdy build and adaptability made it a popular choice for the U.S. Armed Forces, where it served in many roles, from dispatch riding to convoy duty. In addition to its use by the American military, WLAs were also exported in large quantities to Allied forces in countries like Russia, the United Kingdom, and South Africa, further expanding its global presence. From 1942 onward, all WLAs shared the same specifications, and any WLAs produced after this date were simply marked as 1942 models. This standardization was practical during wartime, simplifying production and maintenance. Number 5. 1927 Indian 4. The Indian 4, produced between 1927 and 1942, was a significant model in American motorcycling, especially in the pre-World War II years. In 1927, Indian acquired the Ace Motor Corporation and began using its four-cylinder engine in Indian's own bike frames. This led to the creation of the Indian Ace, a model that gained popularity for its powerful four-cylinder configuration. In 1928, the design was further developed into the Indian 401, and in 1929, it evolved into the Indian 402. These updates included specific improvements to both the engine and the frame, enhancing the bike's performance and durability. The Indian 4 continued production throughout the Great Depression, a challenging period that many companies struggled to survive. Indian Motorcycles, however, managed to keep the Indian 4 in production, and it became an enduring symbol of resilience and engineering quality. By 1942, Indian production had shifted entirely to supporting the war effort, building motorcycles for the United States military. With the end of the war, the Indian 4 did not return to the market. Production focused solely on the Chief model instead. American motorcycle manufacturers had initially drawn inspiration from European four-cylinder designs in the 1920s and 30s. They adapted the four-cylinder engine for American tastes and road conditions, creating a uniquely American style that balanced power and refinement. Number 4. 1947 Harley-Davidson S125. Harley-Davidson produced the S125 between 1947 and 1952. The design for this bike was based on the German DKW RT125, which the Allies received as part of Germany's reparations after World War II. Harley-Davidson aimed to create an affordable entry-level motorcycle with this model. The S125 was equipped with a 125 cubic centimeters two-stroke engine, which produced 3 horsepower. The engine sent power to the rear wheel through a 3-speed, foot-shifted transmission. In the first 7 months of 1947, over 10,000 units were sold. The S125 featured a front fork supported by large rubber bands, which helped absorb shocks. However, in 1951, the bike was upgraded with a telescopic fork for better suspension and handling. In 1953, Harley-Davidson made significant changes to the S125. The company introduced a larger 165 cubic centimeter engine, which offered more power. As a result, the model was renamed the Harley-Davidson 165 to reflect the new engine size. This update marked the end of the S125's production, but it showed Harley-Davidson's ability to adapt and improve upon existing designs based on customer feedback and the changing market demands of the time. Number 3. 1920 Indian Scout. By the 1920s, Indian Motorcycles had established a reputation for making high-quality bikes. The 1920 Indian Scout was a significant improvement for the company. It featured a relatively small 605 cubic centimeter V-twin engine, which was paired with a smaller, well-designed frame. The transmission was attached directly to the engine crankcases, which allowed for a maintenance-free primary drive system. This was a unique feature for American motorcycles at that time. In 1928, the company released the Scout 101, which came with a larger 750 cubic centimeter V-twin engine. The Scout 101 became one of the most important models made by Indian, remaining popular from the company's early years until the start of World War II. It was not only a successful road bike, but also gained a strong following among racers. In 1932, Indian updated the Scout's frame, which it shared with other models in the company's lineup, including the Chiefs and the 4s. This change was made to reduce cost across the range of bikes. The Indian Scout was a key model that helped strengthen the company's finances. It sold very well, partly because it was smaller and easier to handle compared to the larger Indian Twins. The Scout's success played a significant role in Indian's ability to stay competitive in the motorcycle market during those years. The model became a favorite among riders who valued both performance and practicality. Number 2. 1922 Indian Chief. The Indian Chief was a popular motorcycle produced by Indian. It was similar to the Indian Scout, but it was larger. Both motorcycles shared the same 42-degree V-twin engine layout. The Indian Chief was built from 1922 to 1953. The first model featured a 1000cc engine, but by the next year it was upgraded to a 1200cc engine. In 1950, the engine size increased again to 1300cc. In 1928, a front brake was added to the Indian Chief, improving its safety and control. By 1940, the motorcycle received new large fenders, and a redesigned sprung frame made the ride much more comfortable. This frame was far superior to Harley's rigid frame, offering a smoother and more enjoyable experience for riders. The Indian Chief was not only stylish, but also practical, capable of reaching speeds up to 85 miles per hour in its stock form. With the right adjustments from a skilled tuner, the bike could even surpass 100 miles per hour. The Indian Chief was admired for its design and comfort, making it one of the most respected motorcycles of its time. It became a favorite among riders who sought a powerful and reliable machine. Over the years, the Chief earned a reputation as a top-tier motorcycle, combining speed, durability, and style into one impressive package. And at number 1, the 1921 Nura Car. The Nura Car was a unique attempt to blend the design of a motorcycle and an automobile. Produced from 1921 to 1926, it aimed to create a vehicle that could fit between a car and a motorcycle. The Nura Car was built in both the US and the UK. It had a car-like steel frame, which was unusual for a motorcycle. The engine, which had a capacity of 221 cubic centimeters and was a single cylinder, was mounted in such a way that the crankshaft ran lengthwise. This required a complex friction drive system to transfer power to the rear wheel through a chain. Another unusual feature of the Nura Car was its hub center steering, a design still used in some vehicles today. The riders also sat with their feet positioned forward, which was different from the typical motorcycle riding style. The engine produced about 2.5 horsepower, allowing the Nura Car to reach a top speed of approximately 56 kilometers per hour. Over its 5 years of production, about 16,000 units were made, making it the most successful motorcycle with hub center steering in history. While the design was unconventional at the time, it incorporated features that would go on to influence motorcycle development in later years. The Nura Car's mix of a car frame and motorcycle engine left an impression, and its legacy is still visible in some of today's vehicles. These massive American motorcycles may not be as famous as some iconic brands, but their unique designs and powerful engines are worth recognizing. Which one surprised you the most? Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more exciting content on hidden gems from the motorcycle world.